I'd like to open the meeting to the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
I was driving to church on Sunday morning, and this car in front of me was going very slowly. I started getting annoyed, but then I caught myself and realized how foolish it is to be going to church with the intention of doing my part to bless the world, and yet not having compassion for this person in front of me. I didn't know what they were going through, and so I started to pray for them and know they were God's idea and He has the right place for them. And then I remembered Mrs. Eddy's words from last week's lesson, quote, "Spiritual rationality and free thought accompany approaching science and cannot be put down," unquote. I felt then that she was telling me that the tools that Christian Science is giving me must be kept in my hands and used constantly. I must not put them down to pick up my old tools of anger, aggression, and annoyance. Those old tools brought nothing but pain. In the discussions this past weekend, we were reminded that Mrs. Eddy said we need to bleed sweetly. And that statement that I just read helped me to understand that letting go of those old tools, I'll be able to meet adversity with the fruit of the Spirit, as mentioned in Galatians. I'm so grateful for Christian Science, this church, the weekly lessons, and practitioner support, because almost every day I am learning something new that is overturning some previous belief. I am constantly astonished by the blessings God bestows. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the beautiful readings on Worth tonight and the beautiful music and hymns. I would like to express my gratitude for a lesson I learned while working with a Plainfield practitioner. I called for prayers regarding unprincipled behavior at work that was causing great stress and disruption. It made individuals feel controlled, under scrutiny, and unsafe. It did not appear it was going to go away anytime soon. Through the prayers of the practitioner, step by step changes began to take place. No specific outcome was ever prayed for. The focus was on God's government, and that wrong did not rule the right. During this time, it taught me persistence, patience, and leaning on God for strength. A complication came up that seemed to try to reverse the progress that was being made. I held to an idea given to me by the practitioner, which was, quote, "A right idea can't be stopped," end quote. It helped me not to focus on a specific outcome, fear, or the drama, and to instead put my trust in God's sovereign care. A week later, the situation resolved itself, which included a person leaving unexpectedly on good terms, and has been a tremendous healing force toward dissolving this problem and bringing order, peace, and restoring it to a more positive environment. I am very grateful for this experience and for Plainfield Church, Mary Baker Eddy, and Christ Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Good evening. I had a delightful day today. It was cool enough that it was very easy and with no difficulty to stay inside. During the day, I was able to set up the boilerplates consisting of the headings and first three items of each of the newsletters for the remainder of the year. Often, it is quite a laborious task, but everything fell into place in a very harmonious manner. It was suggested that I read an article by Mr. Young, and although I have not finished the article, I am well into it. What a joy this day has been. Thank you.
And thank you. Elizabeth from Georgia, go ahead.
I would just like to give gratitude tonight for the growth that I have experienced since attending Plainfield over the past 2 years. Particularly, a continued greater understanding of the Bible and Mrs. Eddy's writings, Science and Health, which is so Bible-based that I don't know how I took it for granted before. But that understanding is key and has come through attending Bible studies and writing lessons. So part of my gratitude is for the opportunity Plainfield gives each individual to participate and write lessons. This has been invaluable to me because now I see how stories and events in the Old Testament unfolded and relate to the New Testament. They're pieces that are coming together kind of like a puzzle that I just didn't know before that they were missing, because I was kind of blindly going about my life, reading things piecemeal and not really delving further. But now I've noticed that words and sentences that I took for granted have really been elucidated and revealed to me, so that I am understanding so much more. And this is due to the opportunities given here. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Oh, good evening, and thank you for this wonderful service. It's so healing. I wish to offer my gratitude to my practitioner who has been working with me in prayer to develop right thinking, spiritual sense, and praying in spirit and in truth. Not long ago, while traveling on the turnpike, we were suddenly rerouted to an exit without any warning or directions or detour signs. I was calm while asking our practitioner for prayer with this situation, and although we missed an exit, it felt right to keep going, and we went smoothly on to our destination with time to spare. Other opposition popped up, but we were actually joyful, enjoying the new scenery along the way. I never lost confidence in the prayers that were supporting us and felt God's everlasting arms around us and all the other people traveling. The fruition that we experienced that day is part of spiritual sense and was, as was, the intuition to keep going rather than turn back. Feeling to keep going came quickly. I am so grateful for this demonstration of God's love. Stand or ride with God, and He will stand and ride with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol.
On Monday, there was a strong storm here in New Jersey, a nor'easter, complete with heavy rain and high winds. I was due to fly into Newark Airport that night. I asked for help from a practitioner here in Plainfield, and she said to remember that the plane is in your thinking, and you are not in the plane, and that God holds the wind in His fist. As we approached Newark, the pilot announced that there were strong winds and we might have a bumpy landing. The landing was normal and perfectly comfortable. The rain had almost stopped and there was just a light breeze. As we were leaving the plane, I overheard the pilot talking to someone, and he said, as we were coming in, the storm was moving out right in front of us. I've never seen anything like that in all my life. Nothing but the hand of God could have done that. I am so grateful to God for His protection and for the powerful prayers of the practitioner.
Thank you. Luba from Ohio, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Whenever any problematic situation came up in my life, I always faced it with apprehension and anxiety and thought of the worst-case scenario and of everything and all that could go wrong. This month I was waiting to have the home inspection done. I began to have this negative sense come over me. Daily I prayed about this, knowing that whoever enters this home was sent by God. This inspection was done today, The man was so knowledgeable and friendly, and I felt I was given priceless information. I am really so grateful for this, very grateful. And I'm very grateful to my practitioner, her infinite patience, and for always being there for me and for what I am learning. Thank you for the round table and the Bible study and tonight's reading.
Thank you. This is Bruce. I want to add my thanks tonight. Well, I count this as a very valuable lesson, and pretty much exemplified with a daily watch that's posted in the website this week, which basically says that the place where we fight our battles is not outside somewhere else or with anybody else, but rather within our own thought. And when I read the watch, it reminded me of what I read in the book Mary Baker Eddy, Her Spiritual Footsteps. At the very beginning, Mrs. Eddy is quoted from addressing her followers where she said, "If you see sin in others, you know you have it in yourself, and repent." I can't tell you how many years I went through thinking like every wrong thing that ever came up was because of somebody else or something else out there. And whenever I did that, I realized that it caused a lot of disturbance within me, even to the point sometimes to making me ill. But it was only here in the Plainfield Church when the lesson was driven home that the place we fight our battle is within our own consciousness. You clear things within your own thought. And don't be so quick to pull out the finger and point at somebody else and blame. That's an unhealthy thing to do. Well, I must say that for me, there's been a lot of progress in this direction, and it's made my life much happier and much healthier, and I'm humbly thankful for having a lesson like this to even learn. I can't imagine any place else learning it. But anyway, I think it also goes along with Mary Baker Eddy's statement about the purpose of Christian Science. The primary purpose is to take away the sins of the world. And this whole idea of fault-finding with others instead of cleaning up your own act is definitely a sin. I'm grateful to have found this way and thankful for Christian Science here in Plainfield. Dale from Virginia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm very grateful for the readings tonight, for the lovely music in each testimony. There is a continual flow of good in this church where the answer to every problem can be found. Last week I had a physical problem that kind of threw me off base, but a practitioner in this church was alert to my needs and told me to look to the Lord, to be focused on God, not to dream the dream, the Adam dream of life and matter, but to have a deep, settled peace in the Lord. I was told to study pages 390 to 393 in Science and Health, and was reminded that it says in Science and Health on page 243, quote, "Truth, life, and love are a law of annihilation to everything unlike themselves, because they declared nothing except God," unquote. As I worked to do this, to be obedient to the help I was being given, and shut out anything unlike God's goodness, this problem faded away. I am very grateful for the absolute truths given here, and for the opportunity to gain in our understanding and closeness to God with each and every challenge. Thank you for this service tonight.
Thank you. Betty from California, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the beautiful music and also for the wonderful readings tonight. I wish to express gratitude for membership in the Plainfield Church. Years ago, I was going back to college to get a teaching credential when my mother at some point during that time, gave me a copy of the Plainfield Church magazine. Then it was called Healing Thoughts. I'm going to back up a bit here to say that I had been raised in Christian Science and went to Sunday school and felt that Christian Science was true, and I loved it, but I also felt a lot of guilt, like I wasn't good enough. So by the time I was in my 20s, I just finally stopped going to church. Anyway, back to getting the Healing Thoughts magazine. When I read it, it was like, this is how Christian Science was supposed to be. Lots of love and truth, and best of all, no guilt. I got the Plainfield Quarterly, began studying the lesson. It was wonderful. Not long after, I joined the Plainfield Church with no hesitation or doubt, and haven't looked back since. This church changed my life so much for the better. Thank you, Plainfield Church.
Thank you. Day from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you for tonight's readings and all the testimonies. I'm thankful for today's calendar quote, which reads, "Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results." This is something that has been proven since I began my study of Christian Science, and even more so since coming to the Plainfield Church. I used to go from problem to problem with no thought about why, and I'm sure I never paid attention to the negative thoughts I was thinking about myself, others, or life in general. And if I did, it was only in an attempt to justify them. In this church is where I learned to let my expectations be from God, and that positive thinking is more than wishful thinking. It's right thinking, based on the God-given truth. No matter the situation, I find that when I hold to the truth about God's loving power, the result is always positive, and I often learn a valuable lesson in the process. I'm so thankful for even the simple things that I'm learning here, which are making every day more enjoyable and meaningful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jeff.
When I don't feel like sharing, that's when I know I better share. It's not much fun going through a divorce. I feel like I lost my best friend. Call me sentimental, but I thought marriage was forever. What's written on the wall of our Christian Science Church here in Plainfield? It says, "To those leaning on the sustaining infinite, today is big with blessings." Well, that really helped me stay on the straight and narrow today, the straight and narrow path toward God today. The way is wide that leads the other way, and I don't ever intend to go down that way again. That way lies destruction. Today I try to trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not unto my own understanding. It's not always easy, with mortal mind lurking around every corner, but to those leaning on the sustaining infinite, today is big with blessings. And that goes for all of us. And like today's calendar statement is a good one. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. How true. Because I am being healed of a broken heart, even as I speak, by these positive results. Thank you.
Thank you. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead.
Tonight, I'd like to express my particular thanks to Plainfield for the literature that they have made available by early workers that I never knew existed before I came to Plainfield, and they've been very helpful. At this time of turbulence in the world and in our country, an article that I found at Plainfield by Peter V. Ross, God Governs the Nations, has been very helpful to me. Ross says, in these troubled times, each individual can do something to help the situation. He can insist that the Lord God omnipotent reigns. This is another way of saying that principle governs the world and the nations, governs business and industry, governs man and his affairs, nullifying unprincipled forces which would upset society, wreck business, start wars, or otherwise interfere with man's well-being. I am deeply grateful for God and the missions of Christ and Mrs. Eddy, and to Plainfield for all they are doing to make this world a better place. And many thanks for the readings tonight, the beautiful readings on man's preciousness of God. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Amanda from Missouri, go ahead.
Thank you. Tonight, I too would like to express my gratitude for this church, which includes both past and present members, and of course the very dedicated and ever-working practitioners. While I did have somewhat of a background in Christian Science before finding this church, and had in my own way, or so I thought at the time, started an independent study of science, I felt very much like the lost sheep that Elizabeth read from, or about tonight from Miscellaneous Writings, looking for the living pastures and rest beside the still waters, and I thank you for those readings this evening. It was not until I found this gathering that I started to understand, even in a small degree, what true Christian Science is, as Mrs. Eddy discovered and taught, and the transformative power that it has and should normally be expected to have. I've been so inspired by the dedication and constancy of the efforts of many here, and with very needed and dearly appreciated practitioner help I have been given, I have started to notice slow but natural transitions in my thought that are, to me, evidence that a spiritual seed has been planted. While progress has at times seemed very slow and often felt quite difficult or even daunting, sometimes even just knowing that this church is here and reaching out to all through its services and watches, having constant website access, and of course again practitioner support, I've had at least enough of a glimpse of the truth of being that Mrs. Eddy speaks of to keep going forward in the study of science. Whereas before, without the foundation of understanding that this church has helped me build, I know that I would have turned back. I thank everyone whose loyalty and love for Mrs. Eddy, for Jesus, and our Father, Mother, God has helped to maintain the study of true science and has helped to establish and maintain this church. And I thank you for tonight's service and again for those exceptionally wonderful readings.
Thank you. Benjamin.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for the wonderful reading tonight. Very uplifting. I just want to say how grateful I am to be here tonight. It's a testimony itself to be standing here. Shows how loving and how fulfilling God has been to me and to all of us. I know all of us been watching the news since we had a new government, but nothing really to take out of it in the way sense, because all the news have been coming out have been very troubling, from healthcare to, but especially the healthcare. I was listening to the news, but something kept reminding me. It was my relationship with God, what it means to me, what it means to my health, what it means to my well-being and my future. That I should be worried about, because that's where the insurance is. No doctor in this world, no government, no president can give you insurance. except God. He doesn't charge any premium. He doesn't charge any copay. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. It stays the same. His protection is the same. I keep reminding that to myself. If I have this insurance with God, if I don't, I better have it. Because that's the only insurance there is. No government can protect you except God. And that's what this church has given me. The teaching, the wisdom to constantly remind me about God, what He means to me. Since I came to this country, I came here by myself. And I was worried in the beginning, but coming here, started learning about God. And He has continued to protect me, He has continued to provide for me. My health has been phenomenal. I don't get to see doctor at any time. I don't get to get sick. When I do, He usually takes care of me. I hope, thinking about it means a lot to me, really. And I hope all of us should commit ourselves more to God instead of to anybody or any politician, knowing that God is the only true insurer of our life. He doesn't charge any premium, and He doesn't turn anybody back. He always opens His arms for all of us, all His children, wherever you are in the world. He cares for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the beautiful readings tonight, and particularly hymn 154. It has saved me so many times before. Tonight I'd like to give gratitude for knowing through this church, the study that goes on here, that it is the false beliefs that we entertain that enslave us, gets us mesmerized, feeling fearful and totally helpless. But it's wonderful also to know that the Christ mind is our mind, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Earlier in my study of science, I never really used this truth. I would deny the claims, but I did not assert the truth that because my consciousness is the Christ consciousness, I cannot be mesmerized. Later I found that this is such an important truth to declare, because it is important to know that this mind, nothing can mesmerize. And I have found that when I have used this truth with all my heart, mesmerism has been broken, and I've been given the dominion, I have felt the dominion to overcome many claims. We must claim this mind. God has given it to us. And thank God for Mrs. Eddy for explaining it to us to use, because they do destroy the lies that attempt to keep us enslaved. Thank you so much for the service tonight, for all the testimonies. Happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
We have a letter from California. Dear friends, thank you so much for all the work done for independent Christian Science in the Plainfield Church. I love that we can get together on the teleconference line for the Bible studies, roundtables, unity watches, and that we can give readings and testimonies for the services. This church has been such a lifeline to me over the years that I've been a member, and I'm very grateful. And then from our church website bulletin board, Pennsylvania, thank you for the roundtable discussion on the lesson topic of truth on the 22nd of January. Many ideas were covered, and some of my favorites are: there's really no such thing as the human brain. We are controlled by God's intelligence and His wisdom. Another is, if you are experiencing some sort of difficulty, ask God, what truth do I need to know to make me free of this problem? Truth is always available and powerful. And then Virginia, thank you for including on the carousel the interview with Joe Carter on spirituals, when he said that the slaves found a, quote, secret door to take them into that world where the tears are wiped away, end quote. It made me think of what it says in Science and Health, quote, in divine science where prayers are mental, all may avail themselves of God as a very present help in trouble, end quote. This audio is absolutely lovely, showing through the most horrific persecution the strength and peace that can be had by turning to an all-encompassing and loving God. And then Costa Rica, this Sunday's roundtable made me think of the following phrase by Mrs. Eddy from the Blue Book, quote, the man you see is the man you are, end quote. And from Oneness by Bicknell Young, quote, man is the individual appearing of mind, end quote. The only sin there is this mental delusion, the mist and darkness of mortal mind, the unreality of material personal sense. If mind could be aware of it, but she isn't, then this false state of consciousness would be most offensive and insulting to her. It definitely rules out the divine presence. And then finally, Maryland, thank you all for sharing your individual stories of how you came to find our church. What truly wonderful demonstrations have been made by each one of us, although at the time we did not know it. God found each of his lost sheep and led us to the fold. I'm grateful. Thank you for those beautiful readings. It's just wonderful. Every Wednesday night we can come here and get to listen to such wonderful statements from both the Bible and from the works of Mrs. Eddy. I'm so grateful. And then on top of that, the beautiful music and testimonies. I was thinking of many healings I've had through the years with the help of Christian Science. And one certainly was that of indecision, not being able to make decisions. I'd just be so racked with worry about making the right decision. And then even after I finally would decide what I thought I should do, then I would always worry that I'd made the wrong decision. So I was grateful to come here and to learn that God is a decision maker. He knows what's right and best, and when we are following him the best we can, he will direct our paths. It was so beautiful, the last statement that was read tonight from Prose Works. I can't quote it exactly, but it said if we have the right ideal, something to the effect that God will take care of our lives. And that is the truth. When we have God, good, as our ideal, and live up to obeying him, then he does take care of every aspect of our lives, including making decisions, big and small. And I found as you make smaller decisions with God, then you get more confidence when the so-called bigger ones come up. In the Blue Book is this beautiful statement by Mrs. Eddy on page 116. When you are in perplexity or doubt about some important question that must be decided, keep your mind still, cease thinking, and wait, that the still small voice may speak. No words may come to you. Nevertheless, you will have asked your question. Wait. When the moment arrives, the decision you will have. Cultivate the habit of trust by daily repeating, I am led by the Spirit of infinite wisdom. I consecrate my will, my judgment, my desire, and all my faculty to the direction of the all-wise one. I shall hear, I shall know, I shall do right. That has been such a comfort to me. We can declare that. If God is our mind, we shall hear, we shall know, we shall do right. I'm so grateful for this meeting. I'm so grateful Grateful to Mrs. Eddy for giving us Christian Science and to be here with you all tonight.
Thank you.